A twin flame journey can bring doubts and confusion, especially if you experience childhood neglect or abandonment. You may wonder if someone is truly your twin flame or just part of your fantasy. Having experienced multiple obsession in my 20s and meeting my twin flame in my 30s, I can tell you that twin flame connection and obsession are very different. Although it's possible to be obsessed with your twin flame, when you are obsessed with someone who isn't your twin flame, it lacks the 5 signs I'm about to share. In this video, I will review the signs that are exclusive to twin flames. So by the end of this video, you will clearly see if someone is a twin flame and avoid wasting time on someone who isn't. Hi, I'm Yong. I help people find clarity in their spiritual journey and connect with their love within. Let's dive into the first sign, synchronicity. Synchronicity are what set twin flames apart from mere obsession. And I'm not just talking about everyday coincidence here. Back in my 20s, when I was obsessed, I randomly bumped into one of my obsession on the stairs of a train station, one in a shopping center, and one at a self-development workshop. If you work in the same area, visit the same venues, or keep thinking about someone and go to the places they frequent, of course you're going to run into them. Synchronicity are on a whole different level than just unexpected encounters. I didn't just see my twin flame on the street. I actually saw him in the B-roll of a local documentary on my phone. 2 years ago, when I was watching a COVID documentary, he popped up on my screen for a split second. It was a distant shot of him walking in the park with others, and he was wearing shades. So he was so tiny on my mobile screen, but I instantly recognized him because I recognized his energy. That's how in sync twin flames are. What are the chances of him being filmed by the local media and me watching the documentary? I don't even watch videos on news channel that much. And to see him and recognize him in that split second, what are the odds? Synchronicity also don't just pop up once, they happen multiple times. If it happened once, you can say it's luck. If it's twice, maybe that is just a coincidence. But what if it happens more than 10 times? That's when the odds really start to drop. And synchronicity aren't vague. They're super clear. You know when you experience one. If the universe wants to send you a message, it's going to make sure you get it. They're not going to give you confusing signs that leave you wondering if someone is a twin flame or not. I've read blog posts saying synchronicity can be things like seeing repeated numbers, dreaming about twin flames, or hearing a random song on the radio that reminds you of them. But those examples are way too generic. Yes, after I met my twin flame in 2019, my psychic ability took off and I started seeing repeated numbers all the time since 2020. But those repeated numbers could be angels reaching you and sending you different messages. It's not always about your twin flame. If you are dreaming about your twin flame, it might just be because you're thinking a lot about them and your brain is processing those thoughts. And when you hear a song on the radio that reminds you of a twin flame, it could just be your brain linking things like music and food to them because of your obsession. Even when you break up with someone who's not your twin flame, you might also hear those emotional love songs and be reminded of your lost love too. This synchronicity aren't exclusive to your twin flame. You want something so undeniable that represents your twin flame. So for example, my twin flame is French, and last year he went back to France. And I asked the universe to give me a clear, definite sign. I said, if he's my twin flame, show me the French flag. And within a day, I saw it. And that whole week, the French flag kept popping up everywhere. Also, synchronicity appears even when you're not thinking about twin flame. Last month, I was just like craving Vietnamese food. So I got off the bus feeling happy. And then I stumbled upon this French wedding shop. I was like, what? A French wedding shop That's very niche, especially in Singapore. Then later that day, I was exploring other parts of Singapore and I noticed a street sign right in front of me, French Road. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. I live here for over 40 years and I have no idea there was a French Road. It's just wow. And a week later, I was enjoying some nice food in the neighborhood and I decided to explore the area and I ended up in the park. There was this noisy building nearby with the sound of school kids playing. So I googled it and surprise, it's the International French School. Then there were three French ladies, probably teachers or parents, I'm not sure. They were chatting in French and they walked past me. To make the point that my friend is my twin flame, the universe has to send them circle the park twice, so they walk past me twice. This synchronicity with your twin flame are divine. You will find yourself in the right place at the right time, even without thinking about your twin flame. And when you notice this synchronicity, you will know for certain that they are a twin flame, not just some random obsession you have. But what if your ego denies this synchronicity and brushes them off as coincidence, and you're not convinced and still have doubts? Well, let me tell you about the second sign that's unique to twin flame, telepathy. Once I was walking down the street, and out of nowhere I received a thought, my friend has dengue fever. Surely enough, later on, my twin flame mentioned in our group chat that he had dengue fever and he couldn't go to the group meeting. Seriously, what are the odds of knowing someone is sick with exactly that illness? Especially when you're not even thinking about them and just wandering around. Twin flame can communicate with each other through emotion and thoughts without saying a word. Sometimes I will feel his energy around me, or I will sense what my twin flame is feeling, like if he's happy or upset. For example, whenever he gets a new girlfriend or has conflicts with his partner, I just know. I can tell just from seeing a painting from his social media that he got this painting from his new girlfriend, or just a few solo photos of him smiling. I knew he had gotten another girlfriend even before he officially said anything. I'm not on social media that much, but sometimes I just feel this urge to check my social media. And you know what? The first thing I see will be his post. And I see that he just posted an hour ago. The timing is like spot on. But here's the thing, to know if your telepathy is real and not just some imagination, you need confirmation from the other person. Obsession is usually one sided. When we are fixated on someone, we might think that we know what they are feeling or thinking. For example, you might think, oh, they look at me a certain way, they must be in love with me. Or I know they are thinking about me because they keep popping out into my head. Or I feel that they are lonely and sad without me, so I need to reach out to them. Or I know that they're in love with me, but they're scared of the connection. That's why they're running away from me. But these examples are not confirmation. They are just us projecting our fantasy onto them. You need real confirmation from the other person. Like once, I sensed my twin flame was feeling down during a group meeting. So I asked him, and he confirmed it. I didn't know exactly what happened, and I didn't want to dig much deeper, but I felt that he had some issue with his girlfriend. And sometimes you don't even need to ask for confirmation. Like I didn't ask if he has a new girlfriend, and he didn't post about it on social media. But when I invited him out one day, he said that he was having dinner with his woman. That confirmed my gut feeling. Also, a while back, I felt that he was feeling abandoned and lonely. Then, 3 weeks later, he posted the conflict with his girlfriend and how they reconcile. It was like confirmation to me without even me having to ask him. But if you are thinking like, oh, you know exactly what your twin flame is feeling because you're empath, psychic, or super intuitive, you're actually not wrong. I mean, I often sense what other people are feeling, even if they are not my twin flame. But here's the thing, telepathy isn't just a one way street, it's a two-way conversation. True telepathy is when your twin flame knows something about you that you never mentioned. Like my twin flame always knew when I was feeling cold or had body aches or just needed a hug. One time when I went to the group meeting, he asked me, "Do you run here?" And I was like, "Yeah, how do you know?" Was it that obvious? I know what he's feeling emotionally if he knows what I'm feeling physically. And sometimes when he posted something on social media, I'll be like, that's exactly what I've been thinking or learning about lately. Or there are times when I'll be thinking about him and suddenly he will send me a message. So unlike obsession, a twin flame telepathy is a two-way thing, not just one way. Okay, so the third sign I'm going to mention might not sit well with everyone, but hear me out. A real twin flame connection has this underlying peace, while obsession is just chaotic. And I get it, twin flame connection can be super triggering too. Your twin flame might reflect parts of you that you need growth. And I understand that it can be tough. You can suffer a lot, especially if you are resisting change. But listen carefully here. Your twin flame might trigger you, but they're never toxic. If they are toxic, then I'm sorry, they're just a toxic partner. They're not your twin flame. I keep seeing people say that their twin flame are toxic, and I was like, stop obsessing with them. It's not your twin flame. It does more harm than good being in a relationship with those people. Even though I have a deep connection with my twin flame, we clash when our ego gets in the way of our connection. We have different opinions. He's more logical, I'm more intuitive, and we are both pretty stubborn. He wants to be right, and I want to prove him wrong. I don't usually get into conflict with others, and I'm pretty open with different opinions. But with him, I don't know why we just butt head. Like maybe because he mirrored that analytical part of me, which I sometimes feel rather restrictive. However, I never once doubted his intention. He never done anything to hurt me. I always know that his intentions are good. And if I was triggered, I knew I had something that I need to work on and process and harmonize within me. Even if you are obsessed with your twin flame and they are always on your mind, there's always this underlying peace beneath your obsessive thinking. And this peace feels like home. It feels like a calm lake or ocean. Sure, you might have some wave and ripple on the surface. You all trigger each other. You may long for your twin flame, and you are frustrated that they are not with you. But underneath all this, it's still, it's calm, it's peaceful. If you don't feel this deep peace in the connection at all, it's probably not your twin flame. It's just an obsession. When you have telepathy with your twin flame, you'll know how they feel about you. Even though I haven't seen my twin flame for a couple of years now, I still know that he cares about me, and he knows I care about him. Our connection is stable and calm. Obsession, on the other hand, thrive on uncertainty. In the past, when I was obsessed with someone, I'm always not sure if they like me. That uncertainty fueled the obsession. There's this ambiguity that keeps it going. If everything becomes too certain, the obsession will fade, and so will fantasy. For example, if you ask someone if they want to be in a relationship with you and they say no, all your hopes are crushed. You can't keep fantasizing because you know it's not real. And if they say yes, you might start losing interest in them. Because once you get closer to someone, you realize that they are different from the person you have imagined them to be. So your fantasy also falls apart. Contrary to what people usually think, those who are obsessed don't really want to be in a relationship with the other person. They just like the idea of fantasizing about someone. A twin flame connection is about the heart and the soul, while obsession is all in the mind. When you are obsessed, you might think you are in love, but really, your heart is blocked. You are lonely and disconnected from your heart. Something is missing from your life, and you are using your mind to create romantic scenarios to fill up that gap, the emptiness. Meeting my twin flame was rather different compared to my past obsession. I used to get into these one sided relationships, and when I stepped out of it, wonder why I even loved them in the first place. I just didn't get it. It's like when all the mind games and fantasies start to fade away, there is no real heart connection there. But with my twin flame, it's different. Even when he say or does something that triggers or annoys me, my heart closes off a bit, but it quickly reopens for him. My heart keeps opening up for him. It has this desire to open. It just comes so naturally. Despite all the triggers, I find that my twin flame is the easiest to love. It's so easy to have unconditional love for him. I think the biggest gift from meeting my twin flame is that he has caused my heart to be open and be in the energy of unconditional love. And this leads me to the next point, acceptance. When someone is a twin flame, you see them for who they really are. You notice all their strengths, their weaknesses, you see their flaws and accept them without needing them to be perfect. On the flip side, with obsession, your partner has to fit this ideal image of what you want. You need them to treat you a certain way, such as give you attention, do activities with you, have long hours of conversation with you, understand you completely. Even if they don't fit your criteria, you try to mold them to fit your fantasy. You put them on a pedestal, giving an irrationally positive evaluation of their attributes, but you don't really see them for who they are. You might even change yourself to match them so that they will like you and stay with you. So, for example, my twin flame, he's rather nitpicky. He often picks on my choice of words. He'll be like, there's a difference between feeling and emotion. You can't use this word in this context. Sometimes it annoys me because I don't think those things really matter so much. But I accept his fussy nature and I tease him about it sometimes. But once I saw his girlfriend posted a video on IG, she posted something in a foreign language he doesn't understand. And you know what he commented? I don't understand what you say, but I know it must be awesome with a heart eye emoji. It's so cringy. That's so unlike him. That's what happens when we are obsessed with someone. I know because I used to be that cringy too. When I woke up from my obsession, I had to delete all the messages I sent because they were so. When we want someone to love us, we hide our true self, not showing who we really are to please others. We are afraid they'll reject us if we show them our quirky little traits or flaws. We don't really care about the content or what they do or say. As long as it's from them, it must be good because we are in love. But that's obsession, that's not love. I'm not saying that he can't be encouraging, but an encouragement would be something like, great job on posting a new video. It won't be, I don't understand a word you say, but I know it must be awesome. And guess what? His nitpicky side will pop up in the relationship eventually. He can't keep it hidden forever. And when he starts to be nitpicky again, that's where the conflict will start. Even though twin flames accept each other, don't confuse that with settling for low standards. Twin flame inspires, mirror, and trigger each other growth. I have high standard for my twin flame, and I want to see him reach his full potential. I wouldn't be okay if he was inauthentic. I would rather he be in his usual nitpicky self than him pretending to be someone he's not just to please me or make me happy. True acceptance is all about embracing who they really are. You don't love them only when they match your fantasy or do what you want them to do. Also, if someone is truly your twin flame, you will be okay letting them go. Eventually, you will accept the separation. You wouldn't force them to be with you. When my twin flame went back to his home country, I went through a really tough time, a dark night of the soul. As much as I wanted him to be here with me, but deep down, I know that we need this separation to grow on our own. So I also stopped reaching out to him. This isn't some tactics that you hear people talk about, like to make him chase me. When you have acceptance, you respect their choices and their freedom. You accept divine timing. You don't need them to be on your side to feel unconditional love for him. Wanting them to be with you is a condition in itself. It's not unconditional love. Just feeling that unconditional love for him, being that unconditional love, is already a gift on its own. Whether your twin flame is with you or with someone else, you have to remember that no one can break this deep spiritual bond you have. If you are meant to be together, it will happen when the time is right, at divine timing. You see, it's just like magnets. When they are close, they naturally connect. When both you and twin flames are close in proximity in terms of your vibration and spiritual journey, you all have experienced what you need to advance to the next stage. You naturally connect. The universe will bring you both back together. Obsession, on the other hand, has this fear of losing someone. It's because our fantasy depends on them loving us how we want them to love us. When they are gone, so is our fantasy. So you'll do whatever it takes to keep them around, even if it means changing yourself to please them. You may even drop your purpose or your needs in life for your partner, but that's not unconditional love. The fifth sign might surprise some of you, but your twin flame isn't just there to serve a romantic or sexual purpose. Twin flames are there to deepen and speed up your spiritual awakening. For instance, while writing my book on loneliness and self love, I was stuck for ages. I was trying to tackle it from a psychological angle, but it wasn't capturing what I wanted to express. Even though I was already awakened a few years ago, I was too scared to write from a spiritual angle because I was worried about judgment. It wasn't until I met my twin flame in 2019 and we had this deep spiritual chat that I finally felt the confidence to write in a spiritual voice. Even though it was indirect, my twin flame pushed me forward on my spiritual journey. If your connection with your twin flame is just purely romantic or sexual without any spiritual growth to it, then they are probably not your twin flame. They are most likely an obsession. A true twin flame connection goes beyond just being together in a relationship. Both of you have a spiritual mission to uplift the consciousness of humanity. Your twin flame isn't here just to complete you. You are already whole and complete on your own. But when you and your twin flame comes together, they help you expand your horizon, your perspective, and trigger deeper growth. They help you to reach your full potential. And not only that, other people benefit when both of you come together. My twin flame and I used to be in a group, and we have this ebb and flow. I would say something, and he will continue and build on what I said. He brought the physical component, like leading the group into meditation and breath work, while I brought the intuitive insights and wisdom. We attract a mix of people, but when I left, I also created a void in that group. And it's not that my twin flame or I couldn't pursue our spiritual mission on our own. It's just that we are much more powerful when we are together than we are on our own. You see, when a soul split into two, one with more masculine energy, often called the divine masculine, matrix twin, or physical twin, and the other with the more feminine energy, also known as the divine feminine or spiritual twin, the soul split into two so that both of you have different experiences and grow individually. And when you reunite, you bring together heaven and earth. The masculine bring in the more physical aspect, while the feminine bring the more spiritual aspect, merging two important perspectives and energy into one. But first, you got to learn how to blend the masculine and feminine energy within yourself first. Then learn to merge that energy with your twin flame before you can make an impact and uplift humanity. My twin flame and I are not in union yet because we don't know how to work with each other's energy. In contrast, if you're obsessed with someone, you would think that getting together with a partner will be the final goal. But connecting with your twin flame is really just the beginning of something bigger. It's the start of another cycle, a spiritual mission. It's definitely not the end. If you can't stop thinking about someone, whether they are a twin flame or not, check out this next video. I share how I overcame obsession.